The Montreal Canadiens suffered their first regulation loss of the season to the Calgary Flames on Saturday night by a score of 2-0. The Canadiens started off sluggish in the first period, and it was to be expected after the Calgary Flames hosted a players-only meeting after the loss on Thursday night to Montreal. After their sluggish start, the Habs came on strong in the second and third period, and the only Flame left standing at the end of the game was goaltender Jacob Markstrom, who was phenomenal throughout this game for Calgary. He definitely deserves some stick taps from his team, and he was one of the only reasons they were ultimately in this contest at the end of the game. There were definite reasons for optimism for the Canadiens throughout this game, but there were also a lot of negatives that I'd like to talk about right now. I didn't like Phillip Danault in this game one bit. I thought he looked really sluggish from the start and didn't really improve throughout the game like I was expecting him to. He was one of the players I expect a lot more from, and he hasn't exactly shown up a ton this year. Despite playing with Brendan Gallagher and Thomas Tatar, two of the Canadiens' best wingers, this line has shown some productivity throughout this year in the early going, but I expect a lot more from them, and I really think Brendan Gallagher was the only engine going on this line in this contest. In many different ways, this loss was very reminiscent of the Canadiens teams over the last 2 years. They had scoring chances galore in the second and third frames, and they still couldn't find a way to finish their chances, and that was their ultimate downfall in this contest against Calgary. Despite Jacob Markstrom really standing on his head, he does deserve some kudos, but the Canadiens' lack of finish was their ultimate demise in the hockey game tonight. If the Canadiens were to play this type of game in 10 separate contests, they'd likely win 9 of them, so there isn't a ton of reason to be concerned about this Montreal team right now. Josh Anderson left the contest for the Canadiens at the end of the first period and did not return. As of right now, I don't know his status moving forward, but if he was to be lost for any substantial period of time, that would be a detrimental blow to the Montreal Canadiens. Now, I can't believe I have to talk about this, but since the NHL didn't even call a penalty on it, I'm going to have to go on a little bit of a rant about it. Dylan Dubé from behind the net had a legal, cheap headshot to the head of Jesperi Kotkaniemi of the Montreal Canadiens, who went down in a heap and ultimately had a bloody nose on the play. He went to concussion protocol after the play, and I really just thought it was an ultimately dirty hit by the Calgary Flames forward, and it's one that should definitely be suspendable by the Department of Player Safety, but we'll see what happens. We know how inconsistent they've been in the past. I also really didn't care for how Gary Galley handled that situation, saying it was a relatively clean hit by Dubé. There are thousands of kids watching this game on Hockey Night in Canada, and I think that's a very bad image to put in their head that it was a clean play. The last thing that I'm going to mention in this video that came out near the end of the contest, it is now officially rumored that Victor Mete and his agent Darren Ferris have requested a trade from the Montreal Canadiens. I'm a little bit surprised by this because Mete has been a healthy scratch for the first 8 games of the season, but we thought there would be a little more leeway for the team. This is the type of season where you're going to need more than 6 defensemen, and just because Mete couldn't get into the lineup for the first 8 games of the season doesn't mean he isn't a part of the Montreal Canadiens' future moving forward. So I do believe this is a little premature by Mete and Ferris, and we'll see what happens from it from a Canadiens point of view. That's it for me today from Cook's Corner. As always, comment your thoughts on the Canadiens' 2-0 loss to the Calgary Flames and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm Zach Cook. We'll see you later.